Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, Georgia's first licensed astrologer, and I thought it would be very interesting to take a look once again at the charts of our presidential candidates from the standpoint of what the March eclipses are triggering in their birth charts. Now, let me explain what the deal is with eclipses. If I were going to do your birth chart, I would include all of the eclipses that are occurring during that year. Eclipses are like a cosmic 2x4. They kick us forward. They usher in change. And wherever they fall in our birth charts, those are the areas that are activated. Well, we feel the effects of an eclipse approximately a week before it occurs. Many people feel it very strongly. And we feel the effects until the next pair of eclipses come along, because traditionally they occur in pairs. Today is March 11th, 2016. We had our first eclipse for the month of March on the 8th. The second one, let me check my notes here, make sure, is the 23rd. Now, the solar eclipse that we had on March 8th coincided with the new moon. This is a time of new beginnings. The eclipse on the 23rd is a lunar eclipse coinciding with the full moon when things come to a head. I thought it would be very interesting to talk about what areas are triggered in the charts of each of our presidential contenders. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, well, will you be able to tell us who's going to be president based on these eclipses? No, I will not. In fact, we're going to have 3 more eclipses before the November 8th elections. We have 1 in August and 2 in September. I will, of course, keep you posted on those. Keep in mind that eclipses are strongest 3 to 4 months after they occur. And so these March eclipses are going to be strongest June and July, when we are having the Democratic and Republican conventions. Interesting, don't you think? There's a lot more to interpreting eclipses than what I'm going to share with you today, only because I want to keep it simple. If you are a student of astrology, you know that you have to take aspect to all of the planets, the house positions, etc. So, keeping that in mind, I've got my little detailed picture over here, and I've got a simplified chart right here. So let's start with the Republicans, shall we? And let's look at Donald Trump's chart, because after all, he is an incredibly popular candidate right now. If you will notice, the solar eclipse, the new moon, fell in his 7th house of adversaries, open enemies, as well as the public. And so his one-on-one relationships are very strongly triggered. His interaction with adversaries triggered. Now you might say, well, hasn't that been going on since he announced? Yes, that's true. And it is amplified, and it continues as a result of this first eclipse, the March 8th eclipse. Now, astrologically, those of you who study astrology know that a T-cross is triggered in his chart, and the energy of the T-cross comes back to his 1st house. And so even though other people are calling the shots in his life with this particular eclipse, the emphasis is on him. And so it's still yet another me time for Donald Trump. Okay, the lunar eclipse, the full moon, on the 23rd, falls in his 2nd house of money and tangible assets. It sits on his Neptune. Neptune is the planet of wishful thinking, of confusion, and in the 2nd house of money, there will be confusion in the way he sees or even reports his finances. I don't know how this is going to manifest. It can be very often with a 2nd house eclipse that we get something we want. And Neptune is our dream, and this can help him create his dream. However, Neptune rules his 8th house of other people's money, of secrets. And so there can be a certain amount of confusion triggered in his finances or his financial reporting as a result of this particular eclipse. We do not know how it's going to manifest, but that is what is triggered. Okay. I do not have Marco Rubio's birth time. I've left voicemail with his campaign headquarters. Haven't heard a peep out of him. So the only thing I can tell you is based on his solar chart, which is incredibly accurate when we do forecasting. Those of you who are astrologers know the solar chart is sometimes even more accurate than the birth chart because they go hand in hand. Okay, the solar eclipse on the 8th fell in his 10th house of his career, his public image. And so this enhances his career. This is the house of leadership. And those of you who have been watching the debates know that he stepped out and is really speaking his mind. The second eclipse will be on the 23rd, and it falls on his Uranus, the planet of rebellion, in his 5th house of fun and games and children and gambling. And so I think he's ready to have more fun. I think he's going to be enjoying himself more. I think he's going to be rebelling a little bit. And Uranus rules his 9th house of travel, long distance travel, of the big picture. It rules his belief systems. And so he may be rather rebellious in the way in which he expresses his beliefs, rather surprising. And this could easily be very endearing to people. Okay? The next person is Ted Cruz. And this is very, very interesting. The solar eclipse, the new moon on March 8th, fell in his 6th house of work and subordinates, employees. So he's busy, 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 and he's working hard. Now, the full moon is going to be right smack dab on his ascendant. This is a lunar eclipse, and this is when things come to a head. It sits right on his ascendant and his Pluto. Now, the ascendant, for those of you who may not be familiar with astrology, is the most personal point in the chart. It describes the physical appearance. It's the you in your chart. Whenever we have an eclipse on the ascendant, it is a new life for us. It's a new book. It's not a new chapter in the book. It's a new book. And you might, again, be saying, ooh, does this mean he's going to be president? Is that new life presidency? That is yet to be determined. Again, I'll keep you posted as we get closer to the elections naturally. So now Pluto is the planet of control, and it is in his 12th house of behind the scenes activities, and that is what is triggered. The eclipse falls 1 degree behind the ascendant, so we're looking at a lot of behind the scenes activities and control and transformation, probably what we as lay people, political lay people, would call wheeling and dealing. And that's what's going to be going on as a result of the solar eclipse on March 23rd. Again, it is a new life for him, and we'll see how that works out. It's very, very powerful. Who knows if if the charts manifest the way I think they will, it could easily be a presidential appointment, an appointment by whoever is in office. And if you look at the rest of my diurnal charts, the rest of my videos, and just take them sequentially, you will see my predictions. I think I verbalized them in the second video. Okay, let's keep on going. John Kasich. Again, I do not have Mr. Kasich's birth time. I spoke to one of his volunteers who said that he would get back in touch with me if Governor Kasich was interested in sharing his birth time. Hadn't heard from him. So here we are with his solar chart. So the new moon, the solar eclipse on March 8th, fell in his 11th house of friends and group activities. And again, it's a solar chart that says he is dealing as a humanitarian. The 11th house is the true humanitarian of the zodiac. And so this is John Kasich getting out there and being with people as one of the people. The March 23rd eclipse sits right on his Saturn, the planet of responsibility, in his 6th house of work. And so there may be more responsibility that he takes with his employees, with his workers, whether volunteers or paid workers, but he's definitely working harder. And Saturn rules his 9th of his principles and beliefs and his 10th of his career. And so he may be establishing himself more solidly because of all the work he's doing in this race. It'll be very interesting to see. Okay, let's talk about Hillary Clinton. Well, the first eclipse that we just had sat on her moon in her 4th house. Now, this is home and family, real estate, emotional issues come up. This means more emphasis on her home and family, not on her public image, but on what makes her feel secure. The full moon on the 23rd, the lunar eclipse, is going to fall in her 10th house of career. And this is a house of leadership. And you may be saying, well, does this mean that she's going to be our president? No, this is not indicative of presidency. It is indicative of leadership, of a movement upward, of being in the public eye, and of claiming her role as leader. So we'll have to watch that very, very closely. And last but not least, Bernie Sanders. The first eclipse fell in his 4th house on his south node. The south node is traditionally that placement that drains us of energy. When I say home and family, this could be even his home state, but it is home, family, and emotional security. The south node indicates that it is not a redoing of something that you did before that is not necessarily going to work out the way you would like. As I look at his birth chart, those of you who study astrology, this eclipse then is in opposition to his sun and north node in his 10th house of leadership, and squaring, I'll look closely here, squaring his Jupiter in his 7th house. So he, like Trump, has a me eclipse. Be very interesting to see how this pans out. Now, the final eclipse of March on the 23rd sits on his Mercury in his 10th house of leadership. Mercury is communication, correspondence, transportation. It's our conscious mind. So there's Bernie really speaking his mind. Surprise. Of course, he always does, but there's even more of that. Mercury rules his midheaven, his career, which is wonderful. And it rules his 8th house of mutual finances and of secrets. And so he may share several plans, some plans that he has, or it may simply be that he is doing more investigative work that can help him in his own political race. So that's the way the eclipses look for March. Remember that they are going to be strongest June and July. So stay with me. I'm going to keep you posted on any and all events that come up that may give us a clearer picture of all of our candidates. In April, Mars goes retrograde. You know you will hear from me on retrograde Mars. So until we meet again, this is Maxine Taylor saying, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours.